Hey everybody, Randy with Lowbuck LS here again. And one of the problems you might run into if you're trying to swap one of these LS engines into a vehicle that it didn't come with is the Vehicle Anti-Theft Security System, or VATS for short. The problem is this computer has an anti-theft system programmed into it. So if you take it out of the vehicle that it came with, and it doesn't sense the key or lock cylinder that's programmed to go with this computer, it will not start. So the simple way of dealing with that is to use HP tuners, but that's not free. It'll cost you a couple credits, which is about $100. So today I'm going to show you a free way to remove the vehicle anti-theft system, VATS, from this GM PCM. So stick around. Alright guys, so like I said, today I'm going to show you how to remove the VATS anti-theft system for free from this GM PCM using TunerPro and PCM Hammer. The other thing I'll show you how to do is disable the trouble codes that show up when you get rid of the catalytic converters and the rear O2 sensors, and I'll show you how to do all of that for free. And it is a little complicated. You'll see in this video there are some complications you can run into, like finding the right XDF files, and there's also a plugin you need to download to get the checksum right. So if that's a little too complicated, I am going to be offering these for sale with VATS and the rear O2 sensors removed. I can either sell you, I've got a bunch of computers here in stock, or you can send me yours and I will delete the VATS and rear O2 codes for you. So well, let's get into it. Let me show you the setup I'm using on the bench top here with my bench harness and laptop and all that, and we'll get started. Alright, so this is the setup that I'm using to connect to our PCM here. Just using the bench harness that I built in a previous video. I'll put a link in here if you guys want to watch the video and see how I made this bench harness. It's just plugged into the wall there. And then first I'm going to connect with HP tuners just to verify that VATS is active, and also to write down all the DTC codes that I want to disable for the rear O2s. So that is our bench testing setup. So I'm going to fire up the laptop now and we will get into checking this tune with HP tuners, and then we'll switch over to TunerPro and PCM Hammer to actually disable the VATS and the O2. Okay, so like I said, we're just going to open up this tune in HP tuners, or connect and read the tune out of this computer. Should be a 2, yep, I've already connected to this. It's a 2001 LM7. I'll just close the file that I was working on, and we will do read vehicle, gather info, just so I make sure I've got the right file. Gather info went good. You can see this PCM is out of a 2001 GMC Sierra 5.3 liter, and I know it was a 4x4 because that's the truck I pulled it out of in the junkyard. So we'll read. I'll fast forward this part. It'll take a couple minutes. Okay, that's done. I'm going to save this again under the same file name. And now that we've loaded the file, we can look in System is where VATS is found. And we can see VATS is set to serial. So the way you could do it, if you wanted to spend $100 and use a couple credits, you just click on this drop down, pick none, and then write that tune back to the computer. But we don't want to spend $100, so we'll leave that back at serial, and I'll show you how to get rid of that for free. But while we're in here, I want to look and write down all the DTC codes that I need to disable for the rear O2s. So if you look, sensor 2 is the rear O2s, so I'm just gonna write these down. The ones I want to disable are this PO 137, 138, 140, and 141. And if we scroll down a bit, here's some more sensor 2s. 157, 158, 160, and 161 we want to disable as well. So again, we'll disable them in TunerPro and then come back and just verify here in HP Tuners that they've been disabled. And if you scroll down a little more, there's a couple related to your catalytic converter, PO 420 and PO 430. So those are all the ones that we will disable in TunerPro. So now let's close HP Tuners and we will read the bin file out of this computer so we can modify it with TunerPro. Okay, I'm just gonna switch out my cable here. All right, so now I have unplugged my HP Tuners cable and connected for PCM Hammer. We're gonna use this Mongoose Pro cable. Some guy gave me static about it in one of my previous videos because that's like a $500 cable. You don't need to use that particular style of cable. The cheapest and easiest way is if your laptop has Bluetooth capability, just get one of those cheap Bluetooth OBD adapters, and that'll be your cheapest way of doing it. There is another cable that's not nearly as much money as this. I think it's the OBD Link EX, but it's also pretty slow. So this one works for me, and because my laptop doesn't have Bluetooth and I already had this cable, that's what I'm going to use. So now let's switch back to the laptop view and get into PCM Hammer. Okay, so ready to open up PCM Hammer. So you'll go to whatever folder you downloaded it to. And if you want to see how to download PCM Hammer, I've got a video on that I did a few weeks ago. I'll put a link to that here. But you open up the folder that you save PCM Hammer to, and then scroll down to this one that says PCM Hammer application. Double click on that and it will start up. And because my device is already connected and powered up, it is giving me a little report here. If it's your first time using it and you haven't set up your device already, there'll be some options up here to choose and configure your device. If we click on there, it will, depending on what type of device you're using, there'll be some different options you can select here. But I've got a few various, because I've got that VCX Nano and a few other ones I could pick from here, but we will just cancel out of that because it's already set up. So first thing we want to do in PCM Hammer is read the properties out of this PCM. So here you can see the VIN and matches up with the one we saw in HP Tuners for a 2001 GMC Sierra. And this number is important here, the OS ID, because we're gonna need to find an XDF file that matches that. So I'm gonna write that down, 12208322. And now we're just going to read the whole file, the whole bin file out of this PCM. So you go up here to the tools menu and go read entire PCM. And it's gonna ask for a file name. We're gonna call this 2001. It is an LM7 4x4 automatic P01. I'm just gonna give it as good of a description as I can. So I'm gonna kind of try and collect a library of different bin files. So I want to have an idea of what kind of vehicle the file came from, so that's why I gave it that description. Now we're gonna go save. And our PCM has been powered for at least 10 seconds, so we can hit continue. And it's gonna do a bunch of stuff here and take a couple minutes. So I will fast forward through this part as well. But you can see it counting down here and a percentage bar letting you know it's reading the whole file out of this PCM. Okay, so it's done. It's done a bunch of checks to make sure the file is all good. And it says the contents of the file match the contents of the PCM, so we got a good copy of it. And it saved it to that spot that we specified. So now we can go into TunerPro, but first we need to find an XDF file that matches this bin file. So like I said, I made a note of the OS number, wherever that was. Oh, right there, OS ID 12208322. Now we're gonna go to the internet and we'll search PCM Hammer repository. Oh, look at that. My videos are first ones that come up. So beyond that, let's go to this first one here. Legacy NSFW. He's the one who created PCM Hammer. And then we go to the wiki and go down here to bin and XDF repositories, and this will give you a couple spots to find the XDF. This will give you a couple spots to find the XDF file that will match your bin file that we just got out of the computer here. So let's look at this first one from Snowman 002. And we are dealing with PO1 PCM, so, and we want to look at software, and right there is the one we need, 12208322. So we'll click on that, and this is the file we need right here. If it says release at the end of it, that's kind of the latest and greatest, I think. If we scroll down, yeah, if it's alpha or RC1, it's kind of still in progress, but XD, the one labeled as release, is suitable for use. So that's the one we're going to download. So you just click on it and then click view raw, and you'll see it starting to go to your download folder here. So now that we've got the correct XDF, we can open up TunerPro. And it's not opening a bin file, but that's fine because we're going to load the bin file that we just got out of this computer. So we're going to go over to File. And again, if you don't have TunerPro, you can go to tunerpro.net and download the latest and greatest. We're gonna go open bin and choose that one that we just pulled out 4 minutes ago. And go open. And then you'll see here it says no XDF selected. So we go over to this tab here, XDF, go select XDF, and we're gonna have to go to the downloads folder and select the one we just downloaded. And now we'll be able to see all the parameters similar to not exactly how they're laid out in HP tuners, but so we're gonna go into VATS, and yeah, if you hover over it, it kind of, oh, I'm not hovering anymore. If you hover over it, it gives you a description. So 0 is VATS active with class 2 serial, so I would expect it to be 0 right now. And we want to change it to a 2, which means VATS disabled. So double click on that, and it is a 0, and we're going to change it to a 2 and hit save. But now we're going to run into another snag where if we try and save the file the way it is, we're going to get a checksum error. If we go save bin, you'll get this error saying one or more checksums could not be updated. Checksum addressing, etc. for validity. And if you tried with PCM Hammer to write this file to the PCM, it would fail because the checksums wouldn't add up. So in order to fix that, we got to go back to the internet, and if you search for Juki GM checksum plugin, let's try that. Yeah, first one that comes up there. And again, this Jukoi. I don't think I spelled that right when I searched for it, but it came up with the right one anyways. But this guy is involved in the development, and I can't remember which software, TunerPro or PCM Hammer, or anyways, a smart guy that's created a bunch of files and stuff. So the one that works for me is if you download this. So we're dealing with a 512 kilobyte PCM because it's a P01. If it was a P59, we'd want the 1 megabyte checksum plugin. But this is the one that will help solve the problem we're currently having. So you click on it and again click view raw, and it should download. And you're gonna get this error that says it could harm your computer, but we will go ahead because I've downloaded it before, to be honest, and it hasn't harmed anything. So now we got to close out of TunerPro and go into your TunerPro, wherever your TunerPro files are. In my case, it's in my documents. And if we scroll down, TunerPro files, and go to plugins. And actually I should have copied the file from downloads. Let me go back here to show. I'll right click on that and go copy, and go back over to this plugins folder under TunerPro, and we will paste and we'll close out of that, open TunerPro back up, and just check that our VATS is still a 2. Now if we go file, save, nothing shows up, but it's saved and we don't have any errors from our checksum. So like I said, the other thing we want to do is disable a bunch of the DTCs for your rear O2 sensors and catalytic converters. So if we go to, and again, if you hover over it, we're going to want to change them all to 3, which is not reported. So we're going to, and again here, it doesn't give you a description of what's what. There are places you can Google it, or if you use Universal Patcher, it'll give you a description of the DTC codes as well. But I know from looking at HP tuners when we started this video, I wrote down the ones we need to change. So PO137, oops, we need to make that a 3. 138. We need to make a 3. 140. 141. And then we'll scroll down a bit. 157. 158. 160. And 161. We're setting those all to 3, so we won't get codes from our rear O2 sensors. And then we'll scroll down to 420 and 430. And those are all 3s. So same thing, now we can go save bin, and we shouldn't have any problems now that we've got that checksum plugin installed. So that's saved. So now we can go back to PCM Hammer. And yeah, this one, the top one here, is the one that we just modified. So again, we'll scroll down, open up this PCM Hammer application by double clicking on it. And our device is still powered up, we're still connected. Just gonna do a read properties to make sure we're communicating. Now we want to do a test write, and we'll pick that file that we just modified in TunerPro. And we've been powered up for at least 10 seconds, so go ahead and hit continue. And it's gonna basically pretend to write the file. So yeah, you can see it's pretending to erase, pretending to write. Basically, it's doing a test to make sure our communications are good and we're not gonna have any problems when we do the actual write. So everything turned out good. All write request messages succeeded on the first try. We have an excellent connection to the PCM. So now we can go up here. Actually, no, we want to go down here and write calibration. Pick that same file that we just modified in TunerPro. And hit continue, and it's going to write that to the PCM. And again, it'll take a bit, so I'll fast forward through this part. So everything was a success. One thing we might have trouble with, I know when you're using HP tuners to delete VATS, you have to do a write entire. So if we wanted to do that, we'd go write full flash, and that'll basically write the entire thing, and you'd pick that. So if this doesn't work with writing just the calibration, I'll go back and do the write full flash. And that's also a way that you can clone your entire PCM and make another one just like it, or change a 5.3 liter ECM to a 6 liter or a 4.8. But anyways, so that should be done. I'm going to switch out my cable and go back to the HP tuners cable, and we'll fire up HP tuners and see if these changes took effect. Just making some noise while I switch cables here. So I've got that cable switched around. We'll go back to VCM editor. And it's going to open the previous with the VAT still active. So yeah, VATS is set for serial. So we're gonna close that file and go to flash and go read vehicle. Again, first thing is gather info. And it has read it. So we'll go read. Again, take a couple minutes. I'll fast forward. I'm going to save this as VATS and rear O2 DTCs removed. And let's go into system. You can see VATS has been changed to none. No credits required. Let's go to engine diagnostics and check 137, 138, 140, 141 have all been changed to no error reported. Scroll down to 157. All those have been changed to no error reported. Scroll down, 420 and 430 have both been changed to no error reported. So there we go. We saved ourselves $100. Didn't have to use HP Tuners credits and removed VATS and rear O2 DTCs for free. So you can either do it this way I just showed you, or send your PCM to me and I can do it for you, or I can sell you one that's already got it done. So that's all for this one. See you on the next one.